In the pulsating heart of New York City on a brisk Friday evening, the urban landscape buzzed with an energy that never truly rested. Neon lights splashed vibrant hues across crowded sidewalks, and the steady hum of city life provided a rhythmic backdrop for an unexpected encounter. Amid this nocturnal symphony wandered a man whose world was built on high-stakes decisions and vast fortunes. Despite his polished exterior and commanding presence, his eyes betrayed a yearning for a quiet moment of respite, a pause in the relentless pace of his empire. Unbeknownst to him, fate was quietly stirring. Inside one of the city's most celebrated restaurants, the atmosphere was one of refined minimalism and understated elegance. Soft, ambient lighting and sleek decor created a cocoon of calm away from the chaotic streets outside. Seated at a secluded corner table, a man in a perfectly tailored suit savored the rare luxury of solitude. Every detail of his ensemble, from the gleam of his watch to the confident tilt of his head, spoke of success, yet his demeanor hinted at a secret longing for something simpler. Even the quiet clink of cutlery seemed to echo a subdued anticipation. The serene evening was abruptly disturbed by a ripple of commotion at the restaurant's entrance. All eyes shifted as a small figure hesitated on the threshold, casting a stark contrast against the backdrop of opulence. A young girl, no older than 10 or 11, appeared in threadbare clothes that hung loosely on her slight frame. Her patched garments and dirt-smudged face told silent tales of hardship. In that charged moment, the dazzling luxury inside collided with the raw reality of the outside world, a juxtaposition that hinted at a mysterious narrative waiting to unfold. With a voice trembling like a fragile leaf in a storm, the girl stepped forward and pleaded, "Please, I just need to talk to someone." Her desperate words cut through the refined ambience, immediately drawing both curiosity and caution. A surly waiter, his expression a mix of disbelief and annoyance, intercepted her. "This isn't a place for street kids," he barked, his tone laced with condescension that bordered on absurdity. Despite his dismissive command, the girl's insistence, her plea laden with both vulnerability and urgency, filled the room with an uneasy tension that no one could ignore. Moved by an instinctive compassion, the well-dressed man rose from his seat and strode toward the girl with calm authority. With a simple yet commanding gesture, he dismissed the waiter's objections, transforming a tense moment into an act of quiet heroism. The girl, clutching a small, worn bag to her chest, took a hesitant step forward into his protective sphere. In that fleeting instance, his polished facade softened into genuine empathy, hinting at depths rarely seen in the world of billionaires. His unexpected kindness shone like a beacon amid the surrounding opulence. Kneeling down to meet her gaze, he spoke in a gentle tone. "What is your name?" The girl's wide, apprehensive eyes met his with a spark of fragile hope. After a brief pause that hung in the charged air, she whispered, "Sophia." As she joined him at his table, the stark contrast between her delicate vulnerability and his commanding presence grew ever more pronounced. In that simple, quiet exchange, an unspoken bond formed, a promise of protection and care that would soon alter the course of both their lives in ways neither could have foreseen. With a hesitant resolve, Sophia began to explain why she had come. In a voice barely above a whisper, she revealed that she had overheard a furtive conversation among shadowy figures, an ominous warning that he was a target. "They said someone would hurt you tonight," she murmured, each word weighted with genuine fear. Though the notion seemed preposterous to a man accustomed to corporate intrigue and calculated risks, the sincerity in her eyes forced him to pause. Her revelation, laden with eerie implications, stirred a disquiet within him that challenged his well-honed skepticism. As her words lingered in the charged silence, his gaze swept the room with renewed vigilance. Two men near the bar, dressed in unassuming suits, had been watching him intently. Their rigid postures and unblinking eyes exuded a silent threat, as if each glance were a calculated warning. Even a veteran of high-stakes power plays could not ignore the subtle signals of impending danger. The unsettling mix of her earnest warning and the suspicious behavior of these strangers deepened the mystery, compelling him to reassess the familiar surroundings with a newfound wariness. Realizing that the situation might be more dire than he had first assumed, he leaned close to Sophia and said in a hushed yet resolute tone, "Stay here and do not move until I return." Her eyes, still clouded with fear, flickered with trust as she nodded silently. A discreet signal to a nearby assistant set the wheels in motion for his urgent departure. Each step he took toward the exit was measured and determined, as the calm of earlier moments gave way to an undercurrent of tension and the pressing weight of unspoken threats. Bursting into the cool, nocturnal air outside, he quickly retrieved his phone and dialed his head of security. "Where are you?" he demanded, his voice slicing through the quiet street with an edge of controlled frustration. The response came swiftly, a terse update warning of unusual activity nearby. As he absorbed the unsettling news, his mind raced with possibilities, each more disconcerting than the last. The familiar cityscape now morphed into a labyrinth of shadowed dangers, where every flickering street lamp and darkened alleyway seemed to whisper ominous secrets. Seated in the luxurious comfort of his car, he sped through New York's twisting streets, the dazzling city lights blurring into a frenetic mosaic of color. Despite the engineered ease of his high-end vehicle, a gnawing anxiety persisted, fueled by the haunting image of Sophia's terrified eyes. Every burst of light, every sudden twist of the road, amplified the fear that her warning might have been a prelude to something far more sinister. His thoughts vacillated between rational caution and an unsettling premonition, as if the city itself were conspiring to echo his inner turmoil. After what seemed like an eternity navigating rain-slicked avenues, he returned to the restaurant only to find it transformed into a ghostly tableau. The lively din of earlier had given way to a disconcerting silence. Familiar faces were nowhere to be seen, and even the waiter offered only vague, puzzled glances. The elegant dining room, once a sanctuary of upscale indulgence, now felt eerily deserted, as if secrets had been swept away along with the departing guests. His pulse quickened as he searched desperately for any sign of Sophia or his reliable security detail in the haunting emptiness. Within the dimly lit interior of the restaurant, his anxiety escalated with every unanswered call to his head of security. The digital clock on his phone seemed to mock him, its relentless ticking stretching moments into endless spans of dread. Each attempted call was met with silence, leaving him exposed in a place that once embodied safety and control. The absence of his trusted team turned every minute into an eternity of uncertainty, as he grappled with the possibility that he was truly alone in the midst of a looming threat. The oppressive quiet was as heavy as the fear that began to settle in his chest. Venturing into a narrow corridor just outside the restaurant, he was suddenly assailed by a disembodied whisper that sent shivers racing down his spine. "You should have listened to her," the voice hissed, echoing off the cold, unyielding walls. Startled, he spun around, straining his eyes against the deep shadows, yet saw nothing but darkness. The cryptic message lingered in the air, a spectral admonition that both accused and warned. In that heart-stopping moment, the line between caution and panic blurred, and he realized that the danger was far closer and far more personal than he had ever dared to imagine. Retreating into the sanctuary of his penthouse, he leaned against a towering, floor-to-ceiling window, gazing out at the glittering skyline with a mix of awe and trepidation. The opulent interior, filled with modern art and sleek furnishings, now felt strangely hollow in the wake of the night's events. His mind replayed every detail, the tremor in the young girl's voice, the disquieting warning in the dark, and the eerie absence of his security team. In the quiet solitude of his high-rise refuge, he confronted an uncomfortable truth. Even a man who ruled empires was not impervious to vulnerability. His reflection shimmered in the glass, a silent testament to inner turmoil. With the first light of dawn gently seeping through the penthouse windows, a new day began, but his concern remained as heavy as ever. Unable to shake the haunting image of Sophia, he cancelled his meetings and returned to the restaurant, desperate for answers. The staff, now bleary-eyed in the early morning, offered only puzzled responses, unaware of the previous night's unfolding drama. The realization that the mysterious girl had vanished without a trace filled him with a lingering, unshakable dread. Her absence left only the echo of her desperate eyes and the profound impact of an encounter that had altered his carefully ordered world. Driven by a resolve that bordered on desperation, he recalled a cluster of makeshift shelters tucked beneath an old bridge, a part of the city he had long overlooked. Those hidden corners, typically dismissed as mere urban afterthoughts, now beckoned with an inexplicable urgency. In a rare moment of vulnerability, He instructed his driver to wait while he ventured toward the underpass. Every step along the worn pavement resonated with the quiet desperation of those who had been forgotten, and he felt the weight of unspoken stories in the chill of the early morning air. It was here, among the discarded remnants of the city's underbelly, that hope and despair intertwined. Amid the tattered tarps and humble cardboard homes, his eyes caught sight of a familiar, fragile figure huddled on a thin blanket against the biting cold. There, in the subdued light beneath the bridge, was Sophia, her slight frame a stark emblem of vulnerability against the harsh urban decay. Her eyes, distant yet searching, carried the weight of untold hardships, and the sight pierced the billionaire's carefully constructed armor. In that poignant moment, the glittering world of high finance collided with the raw, unfiltered reality of life on the streets, and he knew that he could no longer stand by as a mere observer. Drawing closer with gentle determination, he softly called out, "I came back because I needed to find you." Startled, Sophia looked up, her eyes shimmering with a blend of relief and sorrow. With quiet candor, she explained that the underpass was all she had, a modest shelter from a world that had long forgotten her. When he inquired about her family, her voice faltered and dropped to a near whisper as she admitted, "I don't have a family." In that raw moment of confession, the fragile girl's isolation resonated deeply, and an unspoken promise of protection began to take root between them. Overwhelmed by the stark reality of her plight and the innocence that shone through her hardships, he made a silent vow to change the course of her life. Gently taking her small hand in his, he whispered, "You deserve a better life." The sincerity of his tone, laced with a newfound tenderness, was unmistakable. Without hesitation, he arranged for her immediate transfer to a safe haven, a nearby hostel renowned for its compassionate care. Every reassuring gesture, every quiet word of comfort, bore the weight of a man willing to sacrifice his impenetrable world for the sake of one fragile soul, marking the beginning of a transformative journey. In the weeks that followed, the unlikely bond between the hardened billionaire and the once-forgotten girl blossomed into a profound relationship that transformed both their lives. He immersed himself in her world, overseeing her admission into a prestigious school and ensuring that every detail, from uniforms to daily routines, met her newfound needs. Amid boardroom negotiations and high-profile meetings, he found himself chuckling at the innocent banter of schoolyard friends, a humorous contrast to his former world of cold logic and calculated deals. Together, they navigated the delicate dance of trust, hope, and change, forging a future filled with promise and unexpected joy. As time gently unfurled, the impact of their encounter became a quiet revolution in both their hearts. He learned that true power lay not in the accumulation of wealth, but in the compassion and vulnerability that bridged disparate worlds. The once distant figure of Sophia blossomed into a beacon of resilience and hope, a living testament to the redemptive power of kindness. Their journey, marked by whispered fears, gentle laughter, and even a subtle, ironic smile at life's unpredictability, became a celebration of the transformative magic found in the most unexpected of connections.